It was another long day at Rosie's Diner, the kind of small-town place where the smell of coffee and pancakes filled the air from morning till midnight. Emma Parker wiped the counter for what felt like the 100th time, her hands moving out of habit while her mind drifted somewhere else. She had been working since early morning, and it was already past 8 at night. Her back ached, her feet hurt, but she kept her warm smile on. That smile had become her secret strength. No matter how tired she felt inside, she never let it show. Emma wasn't just working hard for herself. Her mother, Linda, had been sick for months, and the hospital bills kept piling up. Emma's younger brother, Tommy, was still in school, and she didn't want him to worry about anything. Their father had passed away years ago, so Emma had taken it upon herself to hold the family together. Every tip, every extra hour, every double shift, it all mattered. The diner wasn't fancy. It had squeaky chairs, old checkered floors, and a jukebox that sometimes worked and sometimes didn't. But for many locals, it was their favorite spot, a place where you could get a hot meal and a friendly face. Emma was that friendly face. She knew everyone's order by heart: black coffee for Mr. Miller, extra syrup for the truck drivers, and a slice of pie for Mrs. Green, who always came in to talk about her cats. Her co-workers adored her too. They often told her, "Emma, you work too hard." But Emma would just laugh. "Bills don't pay themselves," she'd say with a grin. What no one saw was how she sometimes sat alone in the back after closing, resting her head on the counter, too tired to move. That evening, the diner was busier than usual. A rainstorm had just started, and people came rushing in for warmth. The sound of laughter, clinking cups, and sizzling pans filled the air. Emma moved from table to table, balancing trays, refilling coffee, and taking orders without missing a beat. She was tired, yes, but she was good at her job. Fast, polite, and always cheerful. Then, just as she was about to deliver a plate of burgers, the door opened again. A tall man walked in, wearing a dark suit that didn't match the diner's cozy, simple vibe. He looked a little out of place. Polished shoes, a silver watch, and calm eyes that observed everything quietly. Most people at the diner wore jeans and hoodies, not expensive suits. Emma noticed him immediately, but she didn't let it show. She greeted him with her usual warmth. "Good evening, sir. Table for one?" she asked. He nodded. "Yes, please. Somewhere quiet." She led him to a corner booth by the window, away from the noise. He sat down, placed his phone face down on the table, and looked around as if taking in the atmosphere. Emma handed him a menu. "Our special tonight is the chicken pot pie," she said with her usual smile. "Sounds good," he replied. "And a cup of black coffee, please." "Coming right up." As Emma turned away, she couldn't help but wonder who he was. He didn't seem like someone passing through town randomly. Maybe a businessman, maybe someone lost on the highway. She didn't know. But one thing she did know. Whoever he was, he looked like he carried stories she would never hear. Over the next hour, Emma kept serving tables, occasionally glancing at the man. He wasn't in a hurry. He ate slowly, occasionally writing something in a small notebook. He didn't speak much, just watched quietly as Emma moved around, helping a crying child, picking up a tray someone dropped, and refilling coffee cups even when she was exhausted. At one point, one of her co-workers whispered, "Emma, you think he's famous or something?" Emma laughed softly. "If he is, he still gets hungry like the rest of us." But inside, she was curious. Something about his calm, observant nature made her feel like he wasn't just another customer. Hours passed, and the rush began to die down. Emma finally got a chance to breathe, leaning against the counter for a second. Her hair was messy from the long shift, and there was a faint coffee stain on her apron. But her eyes still sparkled with that quiet determination she was known for. As she prepared his bill, she walked back to his table. "Here you go, sir," she said kindly. "Hope everything was all right." He looked up at her, a small smile forming on his face. Everything was perfect. Thank you. Then, after a pause, he asked something unexpected. Tell me, if you could have anything right now, what would it be? Emma blinked, a little caught off guard. Anything? She repeated with a laugh. Honestly? Just one day off. No phone calls. No bills, no customers. Just a day to sleep and maybe watch a movie with my mom. She chuckled, clearly joking, not realizing her words had struck a chord with him. The man smiled almost thoughtfully. That's a simple wish, he said quietly. Simple but hard to get, Emma replied with a shrug. Anyway, let me grab your change. When she came back, the man was already gone. In his place lay a folded receipt, a neatly signed check, and a tip so generous that it made her freeze for a moment. Her coworkers crowded around when they saw the amount. Who was that guy? One whispered. Emma smiled, shaking her head. Just another customer, I guess. But deep down, she couldn't shake off the feeling that their short conversation wasn't over. That somehow, that quiet man in the corner booth would find a way to change her life in a way she never saw coming. And as she locked up that night, stepping into the cool rain, Emma didn't know that her simple joke about a day off would soon lead to something far beyond her imagination. The next evening at Rosie's Diner started just like any other. The sound of clinking plates, sizzling oil from the kitchen, and the low hum of customers talking over their meals. Emma Parker was already moving from table to table, balancing plates in her hands and wearing the same friendly smile she always did. Even though her legs were still sore from the night before, she didn't complain. That's what she always told herself. Just keep going, Emma. Outside, the sun had dipped low, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. The diner's neon sign flickered to life, glowing against the cool evening air. It wasn't long before every booth was filled. Truckers, locals, and families came in one after another. The place was alive, warm and loud, just like every busy night. As Emma was cleaning a table near the window, the bell above the door chimed softly. She looked up and froze for a brief second. It was him again, the man from last night. The one who looked far too rich to be eating at a small-town diner. He wore another sleek black suit, and his calm presence seemed to draw attention from everyone in the room. Emma quickly straightened her apron and smiled. Welcome back, sir. Table for one again. He nodded politely. Yes, please. Same seat, if possible. Of course, she said, leading him to the corner booth. Once he sat down, she handed him a menu, but he waved it off gently. I think I'll have the same thing as yesterday. Chicken pot pie and black coffee. Emma grinned. Coming right up. As she turned to walk away, she noticed a few of the regular customers whispering. People in small towns always noticed everything, and a man like him didn't exactly blend in. Still, Emma brushed it off and got back to work. In the kitchen, she told her coworker Jake, "That man from last night is back." Jake peeked out through the kitchen window. The one in the fancy suit? What's a guy like that doing here again? Emma shrugged. Maybe he likes our pie, she joked, though even she didn't believe it. While the food cooked, she refilled coffee cups for a group of truck drivers and took orders from a young couple by the window. But every now and then, her eyes wandered to the man in the corner. He wasn't on his phone. He wasn't reading. He just sat there, quietly watching the room, occasionally glancing at Emma. It wasn't in a creepy way, more like he was studying how everything worked, observing people's behavior. When his food was ready, Emma placed the plate in front of him and smiled. Here you go. Still the best in town. He smiled back slightly. I believe it. You seem to take great pride in this place. She laughed softly. I guess I do. It's not much, but it's home. For a while, he ate quietly while Emma served other customers. When she came to refill his coffee, he spoke again. You work very hard, he said in a calm tone. Emma looked a bit embarrassed. I try my best. There's always a lot to do around here. He studied her for a moment. Do you ever take a break? She chuckled, shaking her head. Breaks are for rich people, I think. He smiled faintly at that. I used to think that way too. His words caught her attention. She tilted her head slightly. Used to. He nodded but didn't elaborate. There was a quiet sadness in his eyes, as if those two words carried a story he didn't plan to tell. For the next few minutes, Emma tried not to think too much about it, but curiosity got the better of her. Something about this man was different. He wasn't rude or demanding like some customers with money. He said please and thank you. He made eye contact. He noticed small things, like when she helped an older man who'd dropped his wallet or when she gave a child an extra cookie just to stop him from crying. It wasn't long before the dinner rush slowed down. The rain outside had started again, tapping gently against the glass windows. Emma brought the man his check, and as she set it on the table, he spoke once more. If you could have anything right now, he asked suddenly, what would it be? Emma laughed, surprised by the question. That's a big one. He smiled patiently. Take your time. Anything at all. She looked down at the table, pretending to think deeply. Honestly, she said finally, still smiling, just one full day off. A whole day where I don't have to wake up early, rush around, or worry about bills. Just a day to sleep and breathe. The man looked at her quietly for a few seconds, and then said, That's all. That's all, she said. Simple things mean the most, right? He smiled again, but this time it was softer, almost thoughtful. You're right, he said quietly. Simple things do mean the most. Emma didn't think much of it. To her, it was just small talk with a polite customer. She collected his plate, gave him the check, and went to the counter to cash him out. When she returned, he was already standing, coat in hand. Thank you for the meal, he said. And for your time. Any time, she replied with a friendly grin. Come back soon. Maybe next time we'll have something fancier than chicken pie. He chuckled lightly and nodded. We'll see. After he left, Emma found a generous tip on the table again. Far more than the bill itself. She shook her head in disbelief. This guy must really like our coffee, she muttered. Her coworker Jake came over. You think he's a food critic or something? Who knows? Emma said with a shrug, slipping the money into her apron. But if he is, I hope he gives us 5 stars. Still, as she finished her shift that night, she couldn't stop replaying that strange conversation in her head. If you could have anything, what would it be? It was such a simple question, yet something about the way he asked it made it feel deeper, like he actually cared about her answer. Emma brushed it off and laughed to herself. Just a day off, she whispered under her breath. As if that'll ever happen. But what Emma didn't know was that the man in the suit, the quiet, polite customer named Mr. Bennett, had already decided that her simple wish wouldn't go unanswered. The next morning, the diner was quieter than usual. The rain had stopped, and soft sunlight came through the big front windows, casting golden light over the tables. Emma arrived early as always. She tied her apron, fixed her hair into a neat ponytail, and started setting up the coffee machines. It was another long day waiting to begin, and she was already feeling tired, but that was nothing new. As she wiped down the tables, she couldn't stop thinking about the man from last night. There was something about him that stuck in her mind, his calm eyes, the way he asked questions like he truly wanted to know the answers. She remembered his gentle smile when she joked about wanting a day off. It made her laugh again just thinking about it. What kind of billionaire cares about a waitress wanting a nap? She said to herself with a small chuckle. To her, it was just a passing conversation. One of those random customer moments that come and go every day. She never imagined that it would mean anything more. By noon, the diner was full again. The regulars came in. Mr. Miller with his newspaper, the schoolteacher who always ordered soup, and a group of college kids who filled the room with laughter. Everything felt normal. The man from last night, Mr. Bennett, didn't show up. Emma didn't expect him to. Why would someone like him come to a place like Rosie's twice? As she took orders and refilled coffee cups, her coworker Jake nudged her. "So, where's your mystery man today?" he teased with a grin. Emma rolled her eyes. "Oh, stop. He was just a customer." "Yeah, a customer who left a tip big enough to pay my rent," Jake joked. "You sure he didn't leave you his number too?" Emma laughed. "Nope, just a very generous tip. Some people have money to spare, I guess." But deep down, something about it still felt strange. People left tips, yes, but not like that. She brushed off the thought again and went back to work. Hours passed, and the rush came and went. By evening, Emma was exhausted but satisfied. She had made good tips that day, and her manager had just praised her for handling a big table alone. She sat on one of the stools behind the counter for a quick break, sipping her coffee. The warm drink eased the tiredness from her hands. As she looked outside, she saw the same expensive black car she had noticed the night before parked across the street. Her heart skipped for a second. "No way," she whispered, but the car didn't move and no one came in. After a few minutes, it drove away quietly, leaving her wondering if she had imagined it. That night, when she got home, she found her mother waiting in the living room, knitting by the soft light of a lamp. "Long day, sweetheart?" her mother asked. "The usual," Emma said, smiling and sitting beside her. "But you know what? There was this man at the diner, well, 2 nights in a row now. Really rich but really polite. Asked me the weirdest question last night." Her mother raised an eyebrow. "What kind of question?" "He asked me what I'd want if I could have anything," Emma said, laughing as she remembered it. "And I told him I just wanted a day off. Can you imagine? Out of all the things I could have said, I said that." Her mother chuckled softly. "Well, maybe that's what makes you special, Emma. You don't ask for much. You just work hard and do your best." Emma smiled and rested her head on her mother's shoulder. "I don't think he'll ever come back anyway. Probably just passing through." The next morning, something unexpected happened. Emma woke up early, ready to head to work. But before she could leave, someone knocked at the door. It was unusual. No one ever came to their house that early. She opened the door to find a delivery man standing on the porch, holding a small black envelope. "Delivery for Miss Emma Parker," he said politely. Emma blinked in confusion. "For me? Are you sure?" He checked his clipboard. "Yes, ma'am. Signature, please." Still puzzled, Emma signed for it and took the envelope. It was sleek and thick, with her name written neatly in silver letters on the front. There was no return address. She opened it carefully, and inside was something that made her heart race. A shiny black credit card, heavier than any normal card she'd ever seen. Under it was a folded note. Her hands trembled slightly as she opened it. The note was written in neat handwriting. "Take that day off. You've earned it. M. Bennett." For a full minute, she just stood there, staring at it. "No, this can't be real," she whispered. Her mother, hearing the surprise in her voice, came over. "What is it, dear?" Emma showed her the card and the note. "It's from that man I told you about, Mr. Bennett. But this card looks expensive. And it has my name on it." Her mother's eyes widened. "You mean a credit card? He sent you that?" "Yes, but why? It must be a mistake." Emma immediately grabbed her phone and called the number on the back of the card. Her heart pounded as she spoke to a polite voice on the other end. "Hello, ma'am. Can you confirm your name?" "This is Emma Parker," she said nervously. "I just received a card I think was sent by mistake. It says it's from Marcus Bennett." There was a short pause. "Yes, Miss Parker," the voice replied calmly. "Mr. Bennett personally authorized that card for you. You may use it freely within the spending limit he set. It's a token of appreciation." Emma nearly dropped the phone. "Appreciation? For what?" "I'm afraid that's all the information we have, ma'am," the operator said politely. Emma hung up, stunned. Her mother stood beside her, speechless. It wasn't a joke. It wasn't a dream. It was real. She sank onto the couch, holding the card like it might vanish any second. "Mom," she whispered. "He actually meant it. He really gave me this." Her mother smiled softly, still in disbelief. Maybe he saw something in you that others don't. Emma didn't know what to say. She just kept staring at the card and the neat handwriting on that note. A simple joke, "I just want a day off," had turned into something far beyond her imagination. And somewhere far away, Marcus Bennett smiled to himself, remembering the hard-working waitress with the tired eyes and the brave smile who asked for nothing but rest. The morning sun shone softly through the window of Emma's small kitchen as she sat staring at the sleek black credit card lying on the table. Still didn't feel real. The name Emma Parker was carved neatly on it, just below the shiny silver letters that said, "Exclusive member." It looked like something only the richest people in the world would carry. Her mother, still in her robe, poured them both some tea. "Emma, maybe you should call the bank again," she said carefully. "You know, just to be sure it's not some kind of trick." Emma nodded. "I already did last night, Mom. They said it's real. And they said Mr. Bennett, set it up himself. I still don't understand why." Her mother smiled softly. "Maybe it's just kindness, sweetheart. Some people do good things without a reason." Emma sighed. But who sends a credit card to a waitress just because she joked about wanting a day off? She turned the card over in her hand, still unsure whether to feel excited or scared. Her brother, Tommy, who had been listening from the other room, came out holding his cereal bowl. "Does that mean we're rich now?" he asked innocently. Emma laughed, reaching over to ruffle his hair. "No, buddy. It just means someone was very generous. But it's not ours to waste." After breakfast, Emma got ready for work. She slipped the card back into its black envelope and tucked it into her purse. She didn't plan to use it. She just didn't want to leave it lying around. The whole thing felt unreal, like a strange dream she hadn't woken up from. When she arrived at Rosie's diner, her coworkers immediately noticed something was different about her. Maybe it was the look of disbelief still written across her face. "Morning superstar," Jake teased as she walked in. "You look like someone who just won the lottery." Emma smirked. "Something like that," she said quietly. Jake raised an eyebrow. "Wait, what? Don't tell me that rich guy from last night sent you flowers or something." Emma took a deep breath. "Not flowers," she said, pulling the black envelope from her purse. "This." Her coworkers leaned in as she pulled out the card. "Whoa," Jake gasped. "Is that what I think it is?" "Yep, a real black card. From him," Emma replied, still sounding uncertain. "He left me this note too." She showed them the small message written in perfect handwriting. "Take that day off. You've earned it. M. Bennett." For a few seconds, no one spoke. Then one of the waitresses, Sarah, said, "Emma, that's insane. Those cards are like for millionaires. Are you sure it's real?" "I called the bank myself," Emma said. "They said it's real. I don't even know what to do." Jake whistled. "You could buy the whole diner with that thing." Emma laughed nervously. "No way. I'd never do that. I'm not even sure if I should use it at all." Her manager, Mr. Carson, who had been standing nearby, stepped closer. "Emma, that's quite the surprise," he said with a curious smile. "But if I were you, I'd be careful. Sometimes rich people do strange things for attention." Emma nodded. "I know, sir. I just don't think that's what this is." He didn't seem like that kind of person. The day went on as usual, but the story spread quickly. By lunchtime, everyone at the diner had heard about Emma's billionaire friend. Customers started whispering when she walked past, wondering what the story was. Some even asked her about it directly. "So, is it true?" an older woman asked while paying her bill. "Did a rich man really send you a credit card?" Emma blushed. "I guess so, ma'am. But I think he was just being kind." "Well, honey," the woman said with a wink, "that kind of kindness doesn't happen every day. You must have made quite an impression." By evening, Emma was exhausted again. But this time it wasn't from running around. It was from all the attention. Everyone wanted to know about Mr. Bennett, who he was, what he said, whether she'd see him again. When her shift ended, she sat alone at the counter, resting her head on her hand. The black card lay beside her coffee cup. She stared at it, wondering what she was supposed to do with something like that. It felt too powerful for someone like her. Mr. Carson came over quietly. "Emma, you should take that day off," he said kindly. "Who knows? Maybe that's exactly what he wanted for you. A real rest." Emma looked up at him, smiling a little. "You think so?" He nodded. "You've been running yourself into the ground for months. Maybe this is the universe's way of telling you to stop for a second." She laughed softly. "Or maybe it's just a rich man's way of tipping." "Either way," he said, "enjoy it." That night, when she got home, Emma sat by her window, watching the quiet street outside. The card still rested on her lap. For the first time in a long while, she allowed herself to think about what it would be like to have one day with no worries. No bills, no work, no exhaustion. "Take that day off." She read the note again. "You've earned it." The words made her chest tighten. No one had ever said that to her before. People always thanked her for her service. Yes, but no one had ever told her she deserved rest. Finally, she made a decision. "Just one day," she whispered to herself. "One day won't hurt." The next morning, Emma called her manager and asked for a day off. He didn't even hesitate. "Take it," he said. "You've earned it." For the first time in years, Emma slept in. No alarm clock, no rush, no uniform. Just quiet. She woke up to the sound of birds outside her window, sunlight spilling across her blanket. Felt strange and wonderful. She made breakfast slowly, enjoying every bite without checking the time. Later, she took her mother out to a nice restaurant, one they'd never been able to afford before. When the bill came, Emma hesitated for a moment, then handed over the black card. The waiter's eyes widened when he saw it. "Of course, ma'am," he said respectfully. Her mother smiled proudly. "It feels good to see you smile again, sweetheart." Emma smiled back. It feels good to finally breathe. She didn't know what Mr. Bennett expected her to do with that card. But that simple act, taking a day off, felt like the greatest gift she'd ever received. And somewhere, perhaps far away in a tall office building, Marcus Bennett checked his phone, saw the confirmation that the card had been used once, and smiled to himself. His small gesture had reached exactly who it was meant for. Emma couldn't stop thinking about that black card. It sat safely in her drawer, still gleaming under the soft light from her bedside lamp. Even though she had already used it once, to give her mother a nice meal she'd never forget, she hadn't touched it since. It didn't feel like something that belonged to her. Every time she looked at it, she felt both grateful and confused. Why would a billionaire do something like that for a waitress he barely knew? The next morning, she went back to work. The diner buzzed with the usual morning rush, coffee brewing, plates clinking, and customers chatting about small-town gossip. But there was one topic that everyone couldn't stop talking about: the mysterious black card story. Somehow, news of it had spread beyond the diner's walls. "Hey, Emma," Jake said with a grin as she tied her apron. "You're famous now. Half the town thinks you're dating a millionaire." Emma rolled her eyes and laughed. "Oh, please. He was just being kind. People are reading way too much into it." But the truth was, she was still thinking about him, Mr. Marcus Bennett, the man who had asked her a simple question that somehow changed everything. Around noon, the diner phone rang. Mr. Carson, the manager, answered. He looked at Emma strangely after a moment and said, "Emma, it's for you." "Says it's Mr. Bennett's office." Emma froze mid-step. "You're kidding." He handed her the phone. "Nope. They sound serious." With shaky hands, Emma picked up the receiver. "Hello." A calm, polite voice came through. "Good afternoon, Miss Parker. This is Laura, Mr. Bennett's assistant. He asked me to inform you that he would like to meet with you personally tomorrow afternoon. If you're available, of course." Emma blinked, shocked. "Meet me? Why?" The woman on the other end chuckled softly. "He didn't specify details. He just said to tell you it's nothing bad. He'd like to thank you in person." "Oh, okay," Emma stammered. "Where?" "At the Bennett Tower in the city. His driver will pick you up from your home at 10 a.m. tomorrow." Emma's voice trembled. "Oh, wow. Okay. I'll be ready." When she hung up, her coworkers stared at her. "Well?" Jake asked, wide-eyed. "What did he say?" He wants to meet me, Emma replied, still dazed. At his office. Tomorrow. The diner erupted in chatter. Everyone had their own theory. Maybe he wanted to date her, maybe it was a job offer, maybe it was a TV prank. Emma didn't know what to believe. She just knew one thing for sure. She was nervous. That night, she barely slept. She tried on half her closet before deciding on a simple blue dress and a clean pair of flats. I don't want to look like I'm trying too hard, she told her mother. Her mother smiled warmly. No matter what, sweetheart, just be yourself. That's what caught his attention in the first place. The next morning, a sleek black car pulled up in front of their small house right on time. The driver stepped out, dressed in a crisp uniform. Miss Parker? He asked politely. Yes, Emma said nervously. Mr. Bennett asked me to bring you to his office. Please, come in. As the car drove through the city, Emma stared out the window. Tall buildings, expensive cars, people in fancy suits. Everything looked so far from her little diner life. When they finally arrived at Bennett Tower, she gasped. The building stretched high into the sky, its glass walls reflecting the sunlight. Inside, everything gleamed, marble floors, golden elevators, and people walking briskly in tailored suits. The driver escorted her to the top floor, where a receptionist smiled. Mr. Bennett is expecting you, Miss Parker. Emma's heart raced as she walked into a large office with floor-to-ceiling windows. Behind a sleek desk stood Marcus Bennett himself. He turned around as she entered and smiled warmly. Emma, he said, his voice calm and kind. It's good to see you again. She nodded shyly. You too, sir. I didn't expect to hear from you. He gestured for her to sit. I didn't mean to surprise you, but I wanted to explain why I sent that card. You seemed confused. Emma laughed nervously. Confused is one way to put it. I thought it was a mistake. He smiled. It wasn't. You see, many people serve me coffee, meals, or help me during the day, but very few do it with the kind of kindness you did. You were tired, overworked, but you still smiled. You treated me like a normal person, not like someone rich or important. That meant more than you realize. Emma blushed. I was just doing my job. He nodded. That's what makes you special. You remind me of myself years ago. Before all this, he said, gesturing around his massive office. I worked in a small kitchen washing dishes. I know how hard it can be to feel unseen. Emma listened, her eyes wide. She couldn't imagine someone like him, powerful and respected, ever struggling. So, he continued, when you said you just wanted a day off, I realized how small your wish was compared to your effort. You didn't ask for money or a car. You asked for peace. And that's something not many people value anymore. Emma smiled softly. Honestly, I didn't think you were even listening that night. He chuckled. Oh, I was listening. And I meant it when I said you earned that rest. But there's something else I'd like to offer. Her heart skipped. Something else. He leaned forward slightly. I recently opened a new fine dining restaurant in the city. I'm looking for someone who understands what good service really means. Not just skill, but heart. I want you to manage it. Emma stared at him, speechless. Me? Manage? But I'm just a waitress. Not just a waitress, he corrected gently. You're someone who makes people feel cared for. That's what hospitality is all about. I'll have my HR team contact you with the details if you're interested. Tears welled in her eyes. I don't know what to say. He smiled warmly. Just say yes when you're ready. And Emma, take that day off again before you start. You'll need it. As she left Bennett Tower, riding down in the glass elevator, Emma felt like her whole world had changed. A few days ago, she was serving coffee and wishing for rest. Now, a billionaire believed in her enough to offer her a future she never imagined. And as she looked out at the city skyline, she couldn't help but whisper to herself, maybe good things do happen when you least expect them. The next morning, Emma woke up feeling like she had dreamed everything. The elegant office, the conversation with Mr. Bennett, the unbelievable job offer. It all felt too good to be real. But then she looked at the envelope on her bedside table. Inside was a neatly typed letter from Bennett Enterprises. confirming the position. Her name printed on that paper made her heart skip a beat. She held it for a long moment, whispering to herself, "It's real. It's actually real." Her mother came into the room with a cup of tea and noticed Emma's expression. "What's that look for, sweetheart?" Emma smiled widely, unable to hold back her excitement. "Mom, Mr. Bennett offered me a job. He wants me to manage his new restaurant in the city." Her mother's eyes widened in disbelief. "Manage? You mean, not just serve tables?" Emma nodded, tears forming in her eyes. "Yes," he said, "I have the heart for it." "Can you believe that?" Her mother hugged her tightly. "I always knew you were meant for more, Emma. You worked so hard. You deserve this." For the first time in years, Emma felt like her life was taking a new turn. The weight of endless double shifts and sleepless nights was slowly lifting off her shoulders. Later that day, she went back to the diner to tell Mr. Carson, her manager, about her new opportunity. As she walked in, everyone looked up. The regular customers smiled, and her coworkers immediately surrounded her, eager for news. Jake grinned. "Well, did the billionaire propose or what?" Emma laughed. "No proposals, but he offered me a job. A real one. He wants me to manage one of his restaurants." The diner went silent for a second before everyone burst into cheers. Even Mr. Carson, who was usually strict and serious, smiled proudly. "You've earned it, Emma. I'll miss having you here, but I couldn't be happier for you." Emma felt her throat tighten with emotion. "This place has been my home for years. I'll miss it too. But I think it's time for me to try something new." That evening, she walked home under the golden sunset, her heart full of hope. She thought about all the nights she had stood behind the counter, dreaming of a better life. Now that dream was finally within reach. 2 weeks later, Emma stood in front of Maison Bennett, the brand new fine dining restaurant Mr. Bennett had told her about. The building was stunning, glass walls, marble floors, soft music playing inside. The smell of freshly baked bread and coffee drifted through the air. It was nothing like the noisy little diner she used to work at. She took a deep breath and stepped inside. A young woman in a neat uniform approached her with a polite smile. "Good morning, Miss Parker. Mr. Bennett told us you'd be starting today. Welcome to Maison Bennett." Emma smiled nervously. "Thank you. It's beautiful here." The woman handed her a folder. "Here's the staff list and today's schedule. Mr. Bennett will be joining us later for the final inspection." Emma walked through the restaurant, taking in every detail. The crystal glasses, the golden cutlery, the perfectly folded napkins. She couldn't believe she was in charge of a place like this. Her heart pounded with excitement and fear at the same time. By noon, she began meeting the team. The chefs, servers, and cleaning staff. All of them greeted her politely, though some looked skeptical. One of the older chefs whispered, "She's the new manager? She looks too young for that job." Emma overheard him but chose to smile. "Maybe," she said kindly, "but I promise I'll work harder than anyone else here." That quiet confidence earned her a few respectful nods. Throughout the day, Emma worked tirelessly, checking menus, adjusting table placements, helping the kitchen prepare for the first private event that evening. She didn't just give orders. She helped carry plates, clean tables, and refill glasses. The staff noticed. One of the waiters whispered to another, "She's not like other managers. She actually works with us." By the time Mr. Bennett arrived, everything was running smoothly. He walked through the restaurant, inspecting every detail. Finally, he looked at Emma with a proud smile. "You've done an incredible job, Emma. The place looks perfect." She smiled, trying to hide her nervousness. "Thank you, sir. I just wanted it to feel warm and welcoming. Like home." "That's exactly what I hoped for," he replied. "You see, people don't come to fine restaurants just for food. They come for the feeling. You understand that better than anyone." That evening, the restaurant opened its doors to a small private dinner event. Businessmen, socialites, and even a few celebrities attended. Emma stood near the entrance, greeting guests with her genuine smile. Everything went perfectly: the service, the food, the atmosphere. The guests complimented the restaurant endlessly. Mr. Bennet raised a glass toward Emma near the end of the night. "Everyone, meet the woman behind tonight's success, Miss Emma Parker." The room filled with applause. Emma's cheeks turned red as she smiled shyly. "Thank you, everyone. I'm just happy you enjoyed your evening." After the event, Mr. Bennet pulled her aside. "You did more than just manage tonight, you inspired people. My staff told me how hard you worked alongside them. That's real leadership." Emma felt tears in her eyes again. "Thank you for believing in me, Mr. Bennet. I never imagined I'd be here." He smiled gently. "You remind me that kindness and hard work still matter. Don't ever lose that, Emma." As she left the restaurant that night, the city lights sparkled around her. She stood on the sidewalk, looking up at the stars, feeling a quiet pride deep inside. For the first time in a long time, she didn't feel tired or small. She felt strong, capable, and alive. She whispered softly, "Maybe that black card wasn't just a gift. It was a new beginning." And with that thought, Emma walked down the street, ready for whatever tomorrow would bring. A few months passed, and Emma's life had completely changed. The girl who once worked endless shifts at a small diner was now managing one of the most elegant restaurants in the city. Every morning, she arrived early, checking tables, talking to chefs, and making sure every customer felt special. People respected her now, and her name had even started to appear in local magazines as the heart behind Maison Bennet. But even with her new success, Emma stayed humble. She still greeted everyone with a warm smile and never forgot where she came from. She would sometimes visit the old diner on her day off, just to say hello to her coworkers. One Sunday morning, Emma walked into the diner with a small box of pastries from her restaurant. Jake saw her first and shouted, "Look who's here! The city's favorite manager." Everyone laughed and hugged her. Mr. Carson smiled proudly. "You haven't changed a bit, Emma. Still bringing treats for everyone." Emma smiled softly. "You all taught me how to care about people. I just carried that with me." They spent an hour catching up, and Emma shared stories about her new job. Before leaving, she looked around the diner lovingly. It felt smaller than she remembered, but also filled with memories that made her heart warm. That evening, back at Maison Bennet, Emma noticed something unusual. A man sat at one of the corner tables, alone, quietly observing her staff. He was well-dressed but didn't look like the usual high-class customer. He looked thoughtful, maybe even nervous. Emma approached him with her usual cheerful tone. "Good evening, sir. Can I get you something to start?" The man looked up. "Just coffee, please." She nodded. "Of course." She brought him a cup herself. "Here you go. Freshly brewed." He smiled faintly. "Thank you. You're Emma Parker, right? The manager." She blinked. "Yes, that's me. Have we met before?" He shook his head. "No, but I've heard about you. My name is Daniel Cole. I'm an investor and an old friend of Marcus Bennet." Emma's eyebrows lifted in surprise. "Oh, Mr. Bennet's friend? It's nice to meet you. He's been a great mentor to me." Daniel took a sip of his coffee. "He told me about you. Said you reminded him of himself when he was young. I can see why." Emma smiled shyly. "That's very kind of him to say." Daniel leaned forward slightly. "Marcus and I are planning to open a new restaurant chain across the country. But he's been insisting on one condition, that you help lead the project." Emma froze, her heart pounding. "Me? Led a national project? That's huge. I don't think I'm ready for something like that." Daniel chuckled. "That's exactly what Marcus said when he started his first business. You remind him of that time." Emma didn't know what to say. She had worked hard, yes, but leading a nationwide project sounded far beyond her reach. She needed time to think. Later that evening, after the last customer left, Mr. Bennet came in. He had that same calm smile she remembered from the day they met in his office. "So," he said gently, "I hear you met Daniel." Emma nodded. "He told me about your idea. I don't know what to say. It sounds incredible, but I'm scared, Mr. Bennet." He smiled. "Good. You should be. Big dreams always start with fear. But remember, I didn't choose you because you're perfect. I chose you because you care. And that's something you can't teach. She looked down at her hands, thinking about her old diner, her mother, the nights she cried from exhaustion, and the morning that black card changed everything. I just don't want to let you down, she said quietly. You won't, he said firmly. You've already proven that you can turn kindness into success. Now it's time to do it on a bigger scale. Emma looked up at him and smiled softly. If you believe I can do it, then I'll try. Mr. Bennett nodded proudly. That's all I needed to hear. The next few weeks were full of meetings, planning sessions, and new responsibilities. Emma found herself working side by side with top chefs and business executives. At first, she felt out of place among them. They had fancy degrees and expensive suits. But slowly, her natural leadership and sincerity won them over. Whenever a problem came up, she didn't shout or panic. She listened, helped, and motivated her team just like she used to do back at the diner. People admired her calmness and genuine care. One evening, as she was reviewing menus for the new restaurants, her phone buzzed. It was her mother. Sweetheart, her mom said softly, I saw you on the news tonight. They called you the waitress who became a restaurant queen. I'm so proud of you. Emma laughed through happy tears. Oh, Mom. I'm still the same girl who used to burn toast. Her mother chuckled. Maybe, but you've shown the world what hard work and kindness can do. After hanging up, Emma sat quietly, thinking about how far she had come. She remembered that one ordinary night at the diner when she made a simple joke. I just want a day off. She had no idea that joke would change her life forever. That night, as she locked up Maison Bennett, she saw Mr. Bennett standing by the window, looking out at the city lights. He turned to her and said, Emma, you know what I realized? Sometimes the smallest conversations lead to the biggest changes. She smiled. You're right. If you hadn't asked me that one question, I'd still be serving coffee at the diner. He chuckled. And if you hadn't answered the way you did, I'd never have met the best manager I've ever hired. They both laughed softly. Then, as she looked out at the glowing city, she realized that her story wasn't just about luck or wealth. It was about believing that kindness, even in small moments, could open doors no one expected. As she walked out into the cool night air, she felt calm, grateful, and proud. She whispered to herself, I asked for a day off, and got a whole new life instead. It had been almost a year since that unforgettable night when Emma joked about wanting a day off. Life had completely changed for her. The once tired waitress who spent endless nights balancing plates and smiles was now the respected manager of several restaurants owned by Bennett Enterprises. But despite all her success, Emma still stayed the same kind-hearted woman everyone loved. She didn't wear fancy clothes or act important. She always said, I'm just Emma, the girl who once served coffee with a smile. One cool evening, Emma was sitting on the rooftop of her newest restaurant, watching the sunset paint the sky orange and gold. The city lights started to glow below her. It was quiet and peaceful, and for the first time in a while, she finally had a moment to breathe. She thought about everything that had happened in the past year, the black card, the meeting with Mr. Bennett, her first big challenge as a manager, and how far she had come. Her phone buzzed with a message from Mr. Bennett. Dinner tomorrow. Don't say no. I have something to tell you. Emma smiled and texted back. Wouldn't miss it for the world. The next evening, she arrived at a private dining room inside Bennett Tower. The moment she stepped in, she saw Mr. Bennett sitting at the table with his calm smile. The waiter poured her a glass of water as she sat down. You look well, Emma, he said warmly. I see success suits you. Emma chuckled softly. I don't know about that, but I feel grateful. Every day, I still can't believe this is my life. Mr. Bennett nodded thoughtfully. You've done more than just succeed. You've transformed how my restaurants operate. The customers love you, and the staff respect you deeply. That's rare. Emma smiled, her heart swelling with pride. I just tried to treat everyone the way I wanted to be treated when I worked at the diner. People work better when they feel seen. He leaned back in his chair. And that's exactly what I wanted to talk to you about. She tilted her head, curious. What do you mean? He took a deep breath. I've been thinking about retiring, Emma. I've spent most of my life building this company. But now I want to travel, spend time with my family, and enjoy the years I have left. Emma blinked in surprise. Retiring? But you love your work. You're always here. He smiled softly. I do love it, but I also love knowing it's in good hands. And that's why I called you here. Her heart started racing. What do you mean? Mr. Bennett looked straight into her eyes. I want you to take over. I want you to become the new CEO of Bennett Enterprises. Emma froze, completely stunned. What? Me? That's impossible. I'm not qualified for that, Mr. Bennett. He chuckled gently. That's what you said when I asked you to manage Maison Bennett. Remember? And look how that turned out. She shook her head, speechless. But there are so many people who are more experienced, smarter. He interrupted her kindly. Maybe, but they don't have what you have, Emma. Heart, compassion, the ability to see people, not just profits. You understand that kindness can change lives, and that's something no business degree can teach. Emma sat silently for a moment, tears filling her eyes. I don't know what to say. Say yes, he said softly. Say yes to continuing what we started together. She wiped her eyes and smiled through her tears. Yes, I'll do it. I'll try my best. He reached across the table and placed his hand gently on hers. That's all I ever wanted to hear. That night, as Emma walked out of Bennett Tower, she looked up at the glowing sign on the building, the name Bennett Enterprises shining bright against the dark sky. She thought about how strange life could be. One small act of kindness, one little joke, had changed her destiny forever. The next few months were some of the busiest of her life. Emma worked hard to prepare for her new role. She learned about business strategies, investments, and leadership. Mr. Bennett guided her patiently, teaching her everything he knew. But what he admired most was that Emma never forgot the little things. She still took time to greet the cleaning staff, thank the chefs, and visit the waiters at the restaurant. On her first day as CEO, she arrived early. The whole office gathered in the main hall, clapping as she walked in. Some of the older executives looked uncertain, perhaps doubting that a former waitress could run a multi-million-dollar company. But Emma didn't let it bother her. She walked up to the stage and took the microphone. I know some of you might be surprised to see me here, she began with a nervous smile. A few years ago, I was working long shifts at a small diner, serving people who didn't even look at me. But one man did. He saw me when I didn't even see myself. He asked me what I wanted most, and I said I just wanted a day off. Instead, he gave me a chance to build a life I never dreamed of. The room went silent as she continued. So here's what I want you all to know. Success isn't about titles or power. It's about people. It's about how you make others feel. That's how we'll lead Bennett Enterprises. From the heart. The crowd erupted in applause. Even the skeptical executives smiled and nodded in respect. That evening, when she returned home, her mother was waiting for her with open arms. My girl, the CEO, she said proudly, hugging her tight. Your father would have been so proud. Emma smiled softly, tears in her eyes. I couldn't have done it without your support, Mom. As the night grew quiet, Emma sat by her window, holding that same black card Mr. Bennett had given her long ago. She kept it as a reminder not of wealth but of kindness. She whispered to herself, it all started with a joke, but maybe that was life's way of giving me a new story. And somewhere in the city, Marcus Bennett smiled as he looked at the news headline. From waitress to CEO, Emma Parker's journey inspires millions. The world saw her as a success story. But to Emma, it wasn't about fame or fortune. It was about a simple truth she had learned the hard way. When you lead with kindness, miracles find their way to you.